all about boundaries. So recognizing and honoring our own boundaries, and also just recognizing and taking a moment to acknowledge how the situation that we're in with the shutdown, being locked away because of COVID-19, how that's challenging our boundaries. And it might challenge us all in different ways. In our flow class, we worked a lot with the hara, the solar plexus, working on willpower to stay committed to honoring our boundaries and knowing when to back off. In the yin class tonight or today, we're going to be working with passive stretching like we always do in yin. And because of that, our focus area is going to be on the hips, which is an area that can be really hard to soften. And the harder that you try, the harder it is. So this class is about learning to let go, learning to accept your boundaries, and not to push so hard into them. So learning about less is more, and really practicing that softly approach to honoring our own boundaries. So as always for yin, good idea to have lots of props around, the more the merrier. So you might like a bolster or a big pillow or a couple of big pillows, a nice blanket, at least one, probably a strap. I don't know that we'll need it, but you might like to have it around, and perhaps also a meditation cushion. Our first pose, where we'll take our centering, is a yin style butterfly. So for yin, we like to bring the soles of the feet together, but have the heels quite a long distance away from our pubic bone. So you feel like you have a really stable foundation to fold forward with a rounded spine in yin. So we let the spine round. If it feels good, you can allow the head to hang. If that creates any tension that feels unpleasant or starts to create a headache, then you can stack your fists on top of your feet to support your forehead, or you can place your block underneath your forehead. Once you've found your version of the butterfly pose that we're in, come to stillness and feel your breath. We're working with a 3-part breath this week. So feel the breath entering your belly, filling up the belly, entering the chest, filling up the chest, entering your throat and filling up the throat. And then as you exhale, emptying throat, chest, and then belly. So remember that in our yin practice, we want to relax as many muscles as we possibly can. So with each 3-part breath, see how much more you can soften, how much more you can let go. And you might find kind of some sort of like nervous energy or tension in the form of sort of a residue that you can't put your finger on. See if you can use your breath to massage that away from wherever in your body you're feeling that sort of resistance or tension. But again, not pushing. So we're just breathing, just noticing, and inviting the body to soften, inviting the breath to be deeper and deeper. And the magic of awareness, breath, and time is what will allow your body to relax. So we'll stay here for another 2 minutes. And if you notice your mind becoming busy, trying to fill the space, you can give it something to watch. So the mind likes to move, it likes to be busy. So let it focus on something that's moving, such as the breath, or you can focus on shifting sensations in the body. And notice the tendency of the mind to want to fidget, to tell you that a certain part of your body should move or be scratched or is a little bit sore. And accept that and see if you can resist the temptation to react. So of course, if you're in pain and you think you're doing yourself an injury to stay in this posture, please come out. But if you think that it's totally fine, it's just the mind that's a little bit uncomfortable with staying, see if you can stay. Just be still. Taking 3 more breaths. 3 more breaths here. And then with the help of your hands, slowly roll the spine upright. Taking your time. So always moving really slowly. You're welcome to keep your eyes closed. And we move into another forward fold from here. So you can cross your left shin in front of your right shin. And from here we hinge forward. It feels really nice, I think, to have a bolster for the upper body to land on. And then turn your head to the right. So after 1.5 minutes, we'll change the cross of the legs and we'll shift the cheek to the other side. The target area for this posture is the outer leg lines, so from the outer hips down the outsides of the legs. If you're feeling any pain in your knees, you can come out of the pose slightly, so create a little more height underneath your upper body so you're not hinging forward quite so high. And again, dare to be still, dare to be silent. Let yourself be bored. With some extra awareness, feeling your hip joints and the outer leg lines that we've just stimulated, use your hands to help lift your upper body. Take your time, slowly changing the cross of your legs. And then hinge forward again, bringing your right cheek onto the bolster or pillow so you're facing the left side of your mat. So whenever your mind wants you to move or fidget or adjust, decide whether you'll listen and take action mindfully. So choose to do it rather than reacting on autopilot. So if that adjustment serves the pose, if it serves your intention to honor your boundaries, then certainly adjust or move. But if fidgeting, moving serves no purpose except distraction, see if you can resist. And then with the help of your hands, slowly coming back up. From here we'll take Swan, which if you're familiar with flow yoga is a similar shape to pigeon. So let's come to hands and knees. And before we move into Swan, circle your hips a few times. Close your eyes and feel what's happening in the hip joints, in the muscles, ligaments and tendons surrounding the hips. Feel if you can connect with the bones of the hips, so the upper leg bones and the sockets, hip sockets in the pelvis. Change the direction of your hip circles. You can add in some spinal movement here as well, just mindfully and slowly. And then have your blocks and blankets and bolsters handy. Bring your right knee to the outside of your right wrist and walk your left knee towards the back of your mat. Just slide my things out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Now the target area for this pose is the outer side of the right hip, so the front leg, the outer hip and bum muscles. So if the back leg is uncomfortable being straight out behind you, it doesn't matter. You can fold it out to the side and have it out at a 90-degree angle. You're welcome to adjust this back leg however you need to. With the front leg curled in like this, if your hips are feeling really open and you'd like to bring the shin more parallel to the front of the mat, you're welcome to do that. That creates quite an intense stretch for most people, quite an intense stimulation. A lot of people will feel that they're rolling off to the right side of the mat coming into this pose, so you might like to place a blanket or pillow or block under your right sit bone so you stay upright and even. And then again, it feels really nice for most people to fold down over top of a bolster or pillow. So we're folding over this front leg, relaxing the legs as much as you can, relax the upper body as much as you can. If this pose causes discomfort in this right knee and the front knee, come to lie on your back for figure 4 pose. So if you're comfortable in Swan, stay where you are. If you're uncomfortable in the right knee, come to lie on your back, cross your right ankle over your left thigh, and bring your left leg in towards your chest. You can also do this posture against a wall, so you don't need to hold your arms up. And we're still targeting the same muscle group, so these glutes along the right leg. So in Swan or in this figure 4 pose, reconnect with your breathing. Reconnect with the sensations in the target area. So in the outer right hip. And noticing where your boundaries are. So as we apply time to these postures, what might seem completely doable at the start soon becomes a boundary as you add the element of time. So see if you can notice that. And if you've overstepped and bitten off more than you can chew, that's when adjusting in the middle of the pose is really wise. We're honoring our boundaries, coming out a little bit, Or you may find that your edge moves as we add time. So if your body starts to loosen and relax, your nervous system settles down and allows you to move a little deeper, then again, being aware of your boundaries, adjusting, moving deeper into the pose, again, is wise. So notice even when we're still, our bodies are constantly changing. The sensations are changing. The breath is changing. You may notice as your nervous system relaxes, you might hear your tummy rumbling or feel more saliva in your mouth. You might begin to feel cooler. Get curious. Take one more breath in figure 4 or swan on the right side. And then prepare to slowly come out of the posture. If you're in swan, you can walk your back knee forward towards the front heel. If you're in figure 4, uncross your legs. And then decide which posture you'll do on the second side. So it might be different, especially if you have a knee injury on one side and not the other. So if you're coming to figure 4, you can cross your left ankle over your right thigh, let the left knee fall out to the side, and then bring your right leg in towards your chest. If you're coming into swan on the left side, bring your left knee to the outside of your left wrist, walk your right knee back, or the right leg can be folded out to the side for a deer pose. And then if you want some support under your left sit bone, you can find a pillow or a block and place it under your left sit bone. And then folding forward over a bolster. Do whatever's comfortable for your head and neck. And for yin practice, it's really soothing to have the lights low. I have the lights on so you can see what I'm doing. But if I were doing my own practice this time of day, so in the evening, I would probably have the lights down or off. And take a moment to think about your boundaries in this posture. So are you honoring your boundaries, and are you being respectful of them? And all of this work about boundaries is really to do with being kind to ourselves. So nonviolence, ahimsa, is a major principle of yoga. And it's one of the sort of necessary steps on any path towards self-improvement or personal development or spiritual enlightenment, whatever you'd like to call it. Learning nonviolence to everyone always begins with ourselves. And nonviolence is often, in our modern world, about nonviolent thoughts, nonviolent attitudes. Stopping the pushing, stopping the judgments. Accepting things as they are. from figure 4 or swan with the left leg forward, you can slowly come out of the posture. Let's all meet in a tabletop position. Again, circling the hips, close your eyes and feel the difference between before and after. So we like to take these little pauses in yin. Sometimes they're called rebound poses. Sometimes they're in the shape of a mini shavasana, so lying down on our backs, and sometimes they're in other positions. The point is to feel the sensations that we've created through the poses, through the stimulation of our target areas. To feel those sensations, be with them, and watch them as they dissipate, as they change, as they move through the body. So acknowledging the work that the poses are doing. The next posture we'll take is a frog, but let's all begin with a wide-legged child's pose. So come with your knees wide apart, big toes touching. You might like to have some blanket under each knee, or you can come to face the long side of the mat, so there's a little support under your knees. Sit your hips back towards your heels and lower your upper body. Now, you can modify this in several ways. The target area is obviously the inner thighs, so we're stimulating the inner thighs. You can increase the stimulation by shifting your hips forward from here and separating out your shins. So your toes are pointing out to the sides for a frog pose. So this is frog posture. If this is too intense, if it's unsustainable, if it's not respecting your boundaries, come back to your wide-legged child's pose, bringing your big toes to touch and your hips back to your heels. If frog's feeling okay, sustainable for a few minutes, then most people will find it really nice to have a bolster under the upper body. Placing your head on one side, soften the legs, relax your shoulders, relax your face. Use your 3-part breath, belly, chest, throat, throat, chest, belly, to massage away any tension that you're holding anywhere in your body as you settle into this pose. We'll be here for 3 minutes. I'll let you know when halfway has passed so you can change your head to the other side. So be with the hips. See if you can breathe into them. You might notice your jaw tensing up. So often as we work with the hips, the jaw tends to become tense or tight. So soften, wiggle the jaw, swallow a few times, relax your lower jaw. If you feel that you can't breathe fully or you can't relax your face and shoulders, those are all signs that you're probably pushing a little too deeply into the pose, and it might make sense to back off, relax out of the posture, so don't go as deeply. It's been halfway, so you can shift your head to face the other side. And just notice if your boundary has moved. So if your boundary has moved and you'd like to move with it,
You can separate the knees a little wider, or perhaps shift from a wide-legged child's pose into the frog posture that I'm demonstrating here. If your boundary has shifted in the other direction and you're feeling that you moved into the posture too deeply, then you can also back off. Try to minimize other movements. We'll take 3 more breaths. Then using your hands, shift your hips back and lift your upper body slowly, slowly. Come up to kneeling for a moment. You can keep your eyes closed. And from here we move to a dragon. I quite like to have a block for dragon and a bolster. We'll start with the left leg coming forward first. Dragon is a low lunge with the back knee down on the mat. So you might need to adjust the height of your block or support that you have under your sit bone. This is a posture you want to really mindfully enter, so only going to maybe 40 or 50% of your capacity, because as we add time, this becomes really fiery. I quite like to have a bolster to support my upper body as well. You might find that it's more trouble than it's worth, so you can play around with that. We're obviously opening the hip flexors on the right side with this posture, and it takes some effort to stay upright. But within that effort to stay upright, see if you can relax, particularly around the right hip. So if you find that you're pressing your right leg down into the mat, see if you can release that. Just let the weight of gravity work on the right side. You can even add a little side bend over to the left, which will deepen the stretch you're feeling on the right side. And you can play around with the tilt of your pelvis as well to see what feels nice, what feels good, what feels like it's creating a sustainable, juicy sort of opening along the front of the right hip. Notice your boundary moving. So which direction is it moving? Is it moving further into the pose? Is it moving closer towards you, so inviting you to come out of the pose a little bit? How can you honor and respect and work at your own boundary? So wherever you are today, try not to think about where you think you should be, or where you were yesterday, or where you want to be tomorrow. Think about what you're feeling right now and how you can honor what you're feeling. And then press into the left foot. Use the help of your hands on your bolster to lift out of the pose. Setting your bolster down, perhaps off to the side. Bring your hands onto the mat and really slowly come to a tabletop position. Nice and slow. And we'll just take a little rebound here again. Feel the difference between the front of the right hip and the front of the left hip. And now we take the right leg forward, so shift the support from the left side to the right side that you'll have underneath your sit bone. Bring your bolster to the inside of the front leg and settle it into your dragon on the left side. So we're feeling that sort of fiery opening along the front of the left hip flexors. You can deepen it by adding a bit of a side bend to the right, maybe a gentle back bend, or playing with the tilt of your pelvis. Going to your comfortable edge that you'll be able to hold for a few minutes. And as your boundary moves, we'll respond. So you'll respond as you notice. Just remembering we don't want to push or force the hips to open. Less is more, and the more patient and gentle we are, the more responsive this part of the body is. It's often our nervous system sort of locked in fight or flight mode that's actually the cause of what feels like muscular tension. So it's only through relaxing the nervous system, relaxing the mind, relaxing the breath, deepening the breath, cultivating awareness, that we can really start to soften and relax our hips. Okay, pressing into the right foot, lifting out of your side bend. And place your bolster off to the side. Bring your hands down. And very, very slowly shift your hips back and come to your tabletop again. Close your eyes and feel both sides of the pelvis, the fronts of both hips. And our last posture, which we'll take on both sides, is a shoelace pose. There are a few options. Have a block, a pillow or a blanket handy, and you might also like to have a bolster handy as well. So let's begin by reaching the right leg, stretching the right leg out in front of you, and then place your left knee on top of the right knee. So you can modify this by placing some height underneath your sit bones, especially if you feel that you have nowhere to go from here. If you're feeling stuck, then a little bit of height can sometimes allow you to fold forward. Second option for this posture is to bring the bottom heel around so that your right heel's next to your left sitting bone. Check in with the knees. So again, we're honoring our boundaries. If you're feeling any tension, especially on the outside of the bottom knee, keep that bottom leg stretched out. If you're feeling balanced in the pelvis here, and you can fold forward with ease, you might like to bring a bolster underneath your upper body or between the legs and the upper body and folding forward. If that creates any tension in the knees, then keep your hands down, pressing the hands gently into the mat so that the weight stays back in your sitting bones. If either this position with both feet folded back, or this position with the bottom leg stretched out, if both of those are feeling really inaccessible, come to lying on your back. Cross the left knee on top of the right knee as if you were cross-legged sitting at a table, and then bring your shins closer to your body. Reach for your left shin with your right hand and your right shin with your left hand, and create a little bit of passive traction on the legs so that your heels are moving a little closer to your sit bones. So either on your back or sitting upright. Target area for this pose is the outer leg line, especially of the bottom leg. So the right leg, if the leg is folded back. If the bottom leg is extended, then you'll be feeling it more in the outer leg line of the left leg. And we'll take 3 more breaths in shoelace pose on this side. And to come out, if you're on your back, you can simply release the shins and uncross your legs. If you're sitting up like me, bring your hands behind yourself so the weight is out of your legs, and then uncross, stretching both legs out in front of you. Bring some weight back into the hands and give the legs a little wiggle. And feel the sensations changing as we stretch the legs out. And then for the second side, start by keeping the left leg outstretched. Cross the right knee on top of the left knee. So option to stay here and fold forward. Option to bring the left heel next to the right sitting bone. You can do either of those options with bolster. You can also place some height under one side of the pelvis if you're feeling off balance in the pelvis, and relax from here. If either or both of these positions are uncomfortable and you'd prefer to be on your back, you can lie down on your back, cross your right knee over top of your left thigh as if you're sitting cross-legged on a table, and then reach forward, hold on to the shin that your arms find. When you reach your arms straight forward, bring your heels a little closer to your sit bones. And soften your jaw. Soften the throat and shoulders. Reconnect with your 3-part breath. if the mind needs something to focus on, and you have space other than thinking about the breath, feel the sensations in the target area. So the outer leg lines. What can you feel happening there? Can you feel some stretching, maybe some tingling, warmth? Anything at all? Pressure? And then from that target area, where else in your body can you feel the effect of this pose? So for me right now, I'm feeling it quite a lot in my face actually, and my jaw. Also in my feet. In yin, we're working a lot with fascial lines, and the lines of connective tissue of fascia, they don't just end in the target area, so they move throughout the body. They're fascial connections. The whole body, of course, is connected to each other, to itself, in all directions. Three more breaths. And then if you're using a bolster, you can place the bolster off to the side. If you're on your back, you can uncross the legs, release your shins, uncross the legs. If you're sitting upright in shoelace, bring your hands behind yourself to uncross the legs. Close your eyes and feel. And then we move from shoelace into Shavasana, into our relaxation. It would also be appropriate for you now to go into the meditation class for the week, if you choose to, meditation and breathwork class. Or you can come to lying down in Shavasana, or pentacle pose as it's called in yin. So making sure, it's especially important in yin, making sure that you're warm enough. So find a blanket if you need it. You can put your socks on or a jersey. And then resting in pentacle pose, if it's comfortable for your shoulders, have your hands facing upright so your shoulder blades are resting flat on the back. And take 5 or 6 deep 3-part breaths as you settle into your relaxation. Stay as you are. I'm going to sit up to talk you through Shavasana. And once those 5 or 6 3-part breaths are complete, bring your attention into your hips. Feel the physical sensations around the hips, pelvis. And then how that focus area is connected to the rest of the body. So can you feel the outer leg lines that we've just worked in shoelace pose? Can you feel the inner leg lines that we stimulated with frog posture? Can you feel the hip flexors that connect all the way to the front of the spine, deep, deep in the torso? And what has this work with your hips taught you about your own boundaries, about leaning in and being still? What have you learned about your tendencies or your mental habits when there's stillness, when there's nothing but silence and sensation? And now let all of those thoughts go and come back to your breathing again. Feel the in-breath, belly, chest, throat. Feel the out breath, throat, chest, belly. And stay here for at least another 5 minutes if you can. Or you can shift with me into the breath work and meditation. Thank you all for joining me. Namaste.